Oh, citizens of carbon tax planet Earth, friends, supporters, campaign donors, people who are giving me their wedding, birthday, and bar mitzvah money, and my fellow Americans, do you know what I'm betting? Can you read my mind? I'm betting you are too stupid to even follow what I'm saying. You're too stupid. Your attention span only lasts a few seconds. So it doesn't really matter what I say. You won't remember it. It'll all be like crap in the wind. You'll sit there and listen, but your mind is so filled with static and idiotic nonsense, you won't remember anything. You'll fold up like an old chair. It's wonderful. It sets me free to say anything I want to, from the top of my mountain. It's beautiful. Did you already forget why I'm here? Do you already feel drowsy? Are you in a hypnotic state? So now, let's move along. I'm here tonight because the Republicans are stirring up a hornet's nest about Operation Fast and Furious, and the media are using brutal tactics to make this into a scandal. Now, this is not a scandal. I repeat, not a scandal. A scandal would be if, say, two criminal idiots were running against each other for president and you had to vote for one. A scandal would be if, say, a president bailed out banks that didn't deserve a penny of your tax money. A scandal would be if, somehow, the majority of food grown in America were capriciously genetically engineered by lunatics at Monsanto, never labeled as such, and you actually ate this food without knowing what health effects it would have. And if a sitting president appointed a number of people to his administration who were actually representatives of this corporate toxic takeover of the food supply, that would be a scandal. But since you're too stupid to realize that I'm exactly that president, you have no chance. You see, when I said hope and change, part of that change was accelerating the food supply into genetically modified crap. But by all means, eat healthy. A scandal would be if the government forced everyone to buy health insurance when, in fact, the medical system is already killing 225,000 people every year in the US, and so, bringing more people into the system will actually kill many more people. That would really be a scandal. And, if a sitting president made war against a country like, say, I don't know, I'll pick one out of a hat, Libya, without the consent of Congress, that would be a scandal. And if Mitt Romney and I were just two different versions of globalist criminals out to join America with other nations ultimately under a planetary management system, if he was just as bad as I was and I was just as bad as he was, that would be a scandal. Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious was not a scandal. Not at all. To begin, I need to tell you that the tragic deaths you've heard about down at the border and in Mexico had nothing to do with Operation Fast and Furious. We are all saddened by these events, but they were unrelated. So then, moving right along, people want to know when I first became aware of Fast and Furious, and I would have to say it was about 6 months ago, when I screened the original Fast and Furious movie at the White House. The Fast and Furious franchise, as you know, has been quite successful, and this is exactly what I mean when I talk about American ingenuity. You take a few car chases and some gunplay and blow it up into a special effects movie masterpiece. By the way, judging from early summer box office figures, Hollywood might need a federal bailout, and I believe if we, the government, can get our piece of the action, we can use Hollywood to inform the people about why the private sector is doing fine and why we need to hire 150 million more people to work in government jobs. You see, when we have 70 or 75% of the total US population working for government, we will make all problems vanish like the fizz in a can of illegal soda. Trust me on that one. Now, back to Fast and Furious. Oh, but first, before I forget, Michelle wanted me to remind you all to grow your own organic gardens. Just don't be surprised if police SWAT teams raid your home and rip out the vegetable plants. It's a matter of priorities, my friends. As I said, we want Monsanto to operate all agriculture in America and make every plant grown on US soil genetically modified. That's why we were putting small farmers out of business as fast as we can. Okay, back to Fast and Furious. So, I was sitting in the White House watching the Fast and Furious movie with Attorney General Holder, and he leaned over and said, "Barack, this is a ripoff." They named this movie after an operation we were carrying out along the Mexican border. A real operation. And I said, really? What's the real Fast and Furious? And he goes, like, we are setting up costume shops all along the border. And I was, like, surprised, because I didn't recall any federal budget item for costume shops. So I asked him what the shops were for. And he told me they were for giving away costumes made out of silver cloth that you could put on that would make you look like an extraterrestrial person who just came out of a spaceship from another planet. And these costume shops had masks, too, that they were giving away, and these masks were long oval weird gray faces with big ears and narrow eyes like slits, and I told Attorney General Holder I didn't understand. And he said the whole operation, this Fast and Furious operation, was to give these costumes and masks to people from Mexico who were coming across the border, give them these costumes quickly and furiously, so that the American people would think this was the meaning of the term illegal aliens. The American people would think all these people coming up across the border were space aliens, instead of Mexicans. Wow. And, I'm not trying to throw Eric Holder under the bus, believe me, but I told him I thought this Fast and Furious costume operation was ill-advised. I said we couldn't try to deceive the American people about Mexicans coming across the border. It would be wrong to tell the people these Mexicans were space aliens. I mean, it was clever, but it just wasn't true, and he saw what I meant, and he said he was sorry. So the next day he stopped the whole thing. Do you understand? So, if you see people running around in silver spacesuits from head to toe and masks with big ears, realize this is not a space invasion. It's just immigrants. Now, I want to tell you, my friends, why I asserted executive privilege and refused to send Congress the documents relating to Operation Fast and Furious. In those documents, there was sensitive information. You see, when Attorney General Holder started the Fast and Furious costume operation, the federal government had to give out a contract to someone who would manufacture the costumes, and another contract to someone who would hire all the people to staff the costume shops along the border, and under the surface, a protest broke out. I can't give you all the details, but it had to do with Donald Trump and Project Runway and George Soros. They all wanted the costume contract. There were arguments. Attorney General Holder couldn't resolve these conflicts. So he had to rework the costume contract and give it to someone else. He gave it to the U.S. Army, and before he knew it, a group of gay soldiers took it over. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I want to make that clear. Nothing wrong at all. But another protest broke out, because non-gay soldiers said they were being discriminated against. They threatened a discrimination lawsuit. It was a mess. It was finally worked out, through compromise and arbitration. A team of transgender lawyers from the Navy handled the final negotiation. The transgender lawyers said they could work it out because they could see both sides of the issue, the gay and the straight sides. And that was fine and that was good.